Tonight, Taylor Swift takes Toronto. The Swiftie surge as the record-breaking tour touches down in Canada.
She's just such a great person, and she brings so many people together.
New video obtained by CBC News shows what police believe may have led to a dramatic shootout in downtown Toronto.
It is something that we see in TV and movies.
Now we're learning a 16-year-old is among the 23 arrested. And it's no joke.
The total attack on free speech, the deep state, is completely out of control.
Alex Jones's InfoWars, once a peddler of conspiracies, has a new owner, the satirical news outlet, The Onion.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrienne Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with breaking news. Canada Post workers are now on strike nationwide. 55,000 employees off the job just ahead of the busy holiday season. The union making that announcement after a strike deadline at midnight Eastern Time. After a year of bargaining, negotiations went right down to the wire. Lindsay Duncombe is outside a Canada Post sorting facility tonight where a picket line has formed. So, Lindsay, what do we know about this strike so far?
Well, in the last hour, Adrienne, we saw the workers at the sorting facility. The night shift is the busiest shift, 450 people working at the time. They took their cars out of the parking lot. There was a lot of honking, and then they assembled at this picket line you can see behind me here. I spoke to the president of the local here in Vancouver. She said after a year of bargaining, the sides were just too far apart. One of the big issues here, Adrienne, is wages. Canada Post had on the table an 11.5% increase in wages over 4 years. The union wants double that, 22%. I asked the union president why they want that money. They say it's a physical job. They say it's inflation, cost of living, and for that reason, they want to see that. You know, we had heard from the federal minister of labor earlier this evening. The feds have been involved in these negotiations for the last year. They said they were putting additional resources in to help with the talks, but obviously those talks have broken down, and that will be a big impact on many Canadians as they wake up tomorrow.
Well, good point. This strike will have huge implications for Canadians.
Yeah, especially for businesses, Adrienne. You know, we spoke to business owners who say that they do rely on Canada Post to get their goods to people, particularly when you consider that we are so close to the holiday season. And it's going to be especially hard in rural and remote areas.
All right, Lindsay Duncombe in Richmond, BC. Thanks, Lindsay. Well, Taylor Swift's Toronto takeover is officially underway. The superstar taking the stage in front of tens of thousands of screaming fans. Her record-breaking tour now in Canada.
He's like, I still love you. Like, this is exhausting, you know? Like, we are never getting back together. Sorry about it.
Well, that was a view from inside the stadium tonight as Swift sang, "We are never, ever getting back together." One of more than 40 songs she performed at the first of 6 Toronto shows. So the city has been preparing for this, bracing for all those fans from across the country and around the world. And as Eli Glasner shows us, they were not disappointed.
This is the moment hundreds of thousands of fans have been waiting for, traveling from across the country and beyond, shelling out hundreds, even thousands for tickets.
How does that sound?
The Eras Tour is more than a concert. It's a music marathon that sees Taylor Swift performing songs from 11 different albums for over 3 hours. For many, Swift is more than a singer-songwriter. She's someone they grew up with.
She finds a way to weave in and make it feel like you're listening just with her and not with the whole world.
What also resonates is how Swift has stood her ground, pushing back against the record industry.
Biggest example is the man. Like, I'm studying engineering physics, I'm a woman in STEM, and to hear her sing things like that, like, if I could get there quicker if I was a man, like, I feel that. That's real for me.
Now the Canadian concert is attracting Swifties from Mexico City.
I think she writes for her and for us. I think everyone goes through what she goes through, heartbreaks and love stories and all that stuff, yeah.
To Atlanta, Georgia.
We've been fans since we were in middle school.
A big part of the experience is the community. Fans lined up for hours before the doors opened, applauding each other's outfits and trading friendship bracelets.
She's just such a great person, and she brings so many people together.
Those who've already seen the show say little comes close.
Kansas City will probably be one of the top moments, besides my wedding, I guess I'll have to say.
Barely beats it.
I hope the husband understands.
Yeah, I hope so too.
While the city and even mounted officers are getting in the spirit, Toronto's police chief says the force is ready if needed.
We have police officers and civilian staff here doing everything they can to keep this event safe. We've scaled up our response to prepare for what is obviously an incredible crowd event.
With over 500,000 visitors expected for the 6 sold-out shows, it's estimated the Eras Tour will generate $282 million for the city. But behind all the businesses looking to cash in, this is what it's all about. The woman who started writing songs when she was 12, now center stage in Canada's biggest city.
It's a little late, it's a little cold, it's a little wet here in Toronto, but you can still see fans buzzing as they trickle out of the arena. Now Taylor Swift finished the first night of the Eras Tour here in Canada with Karma, and she added some words for Toronto, had a lot of nice things to say about why she chose to end her tour in Canada, talking about how generous and welcoming the audience has been. And certainly the fans we talked to streaming out of the arena had a lot to say about their experience tonight.
I literally went through war in the pre-sale trying to get tickets and did anything I possibly could, and I got us tickets.
It was worth it?
It was so worth it.
You're hoping to see Travis?
I would have loved to have seen him. I heard he was in the building, but I didn't get to see him.
I really like the finale.
Yeah?
When I also like when the fire went up in the sky.
Oh, the fire and the confetti, all the confetti?
I like all the sparkles too.
Sparkle's always good. So, Eli, you've covered a lot of major events. How does this one compare?
I cannot think of another concert, another entertainment event with the same sense of community, Adrienne. Like, look, I have friendship bracelets. My wrist was naked at the beginning of today's coverage, and this is what it's about, is that you just kind of get, adopted into this community, and it reaches across generations, it reaches across genders. There is an amazing community here, and they are all coalescing around the remarkable songbook of Taylor Swift, and people paid mightily to be here, and they've traveled from far and wide, and this has just begun. This is the first night of 6 nights in Toronto, so the city will do it again and again and again.
All right, the newly minted Swiftie, Eli Glasner, in Toronto. Donald Trump has named another member of his cabinet, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the vaccine skeptic, opponent of factory farming and water fluoridation, is Trump's pick for health secretary. Chris Reyes now on how Trump's unconventional administration is taking shape.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has railed against vaccines, made unsubstantiated claims about COVID-19.
COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people.
And spread other health-related conspiracy theories. And now Donald Trump's tapping him for Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he came in. And he's going to help make America healthy again.
He joins a list of Trump's other bombshell picks announced this week. Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, and Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. All of them Trump loyalists who critics warn will bend government to his will.
Donald Trump has told us for 4 years just exactly what he was going to do. Number one, he was going to set fire to every aspect of the government. And number two, he was going to rebuild it so that it served his ego and his interests.
Gabbard has been accused of spouting Kremlin propaganda. Hegseth has said women should not be in military combat roles. Gates was investigated by the Department of Justice over allegations of sexual misconduct. No charges were laid, though Congress still pushed ahead with their own investigation over similar accusations.
Ultimately, again, Donald Trump has the right to nominate who he sees fit to serve in his administration, and the Senate will go through the confirmation process.
Democrats are already on the defensive, including demanding the release of an ethics committee report on Gates.
Matt Gaetz has chosen to resign from the House, but he can't choose to conceal that information.
Battles brewing quickly, with still 2 months before Trump officially moves back into the White House. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Tonight, in a Fifth Estate investigation, we're hearing directly from 2 men who were arrested at the convoy blockade in Coutts, Alberta, protesting pandemic restrictions and vaccine mandates. The men were accused of conspiring to kill police. Stephen D'Souza now with the evidence, shedding new light on the case.
When the elites win, we all lose, and we'll all be in a concentration camp then. Just like it was in Germany.
This is the first time CBC can show you this video. That's Tony Olenek, arrested during the Coutts blockade in 2022. And Chris Carbert, 2 of the men accused at the time of conspiring to murder RCMP officers.
I'm probably too deep down the rabbit hole, but it scares me.
The Fifth Estate obtained evidence photos and viewed just some of the Arsenault police seized, and viewed Tony Olenek's journal, where he wrote about a coming apocalypse. But it's the videos that really show how conspiracy theories and far-fetched scenarios fueled the men's actions.
So then what happens is the UN comes, which is Chinese troops. And there is an imminent invasion of Chinese troops on Canadian and American soil.
Throughout the case, the men's supporters called them political prisoners. As police alleged, they were armed for a shootout.
I don't like Trudeau. Yeah, I don't like him. I'd like to see him hanged. Sure, that'd be perfect. He needs to be tried for treason.
A jury found the men not guilty of conspiracy to murder police officers, but guilty of weapons possession and mischief. The men said they were only there to defend, not attack.
You will not find anything that's planning on doing something. I can guarantee you that.
This was treated as a standard series of street-level crime. Because of that, they've gotten away fairly lightly, in my opinion.
This criminologist says the case is a wake-up call for police and the courts.
This case provides a glimpse into our kind of a scary future for us, that if we don't get a handle of online self-radicalization and extremism, people's lives are at risk.
The men were sentenced to 6.5 years, and in handing down the sentence, Adrienne, the judge called their claim of self-defense nebulous and fanciful.
So as I understand it, your team has not really been able to speak directly with the suspects.
We had hoped to for years, trying to get them or their lawyers, and it wasn't until Monday when Chris Carbert, who you just saw, called our producer from prison, telling her that we should hold off on the story, that there's more to come. He's still claiming that this was orchestrated by the Trudeau government as an excuse to bring in the Emergencies Act. There's no factual basis for that. And when we pressed him on why he brought so many guns to the protest, he didn't want to answer and he hung up. There are appeals in this case from both the defense and the Crown, so still a lot more to come.
All right, more to come for sure. Fifth Estate, Stephen D'Souza, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now you can watch Stephen's full investigation Friday on the Fifth Estate. That's at 9 p.m. on CBC Television, 9:30 in Newfoundland, or you can stream it on YouTube or CBC Gem. Well, CBC News has obtained a shocking video that police say appears to show what happened just before a dangerous shootout in the streets of downtown Toronto. Thomas Daigle now with what we've learned about the birthday party that may have started it all.
With handguns pointed in the air, it wasn't long before this party in Toronto turned ugly. CBC News obtained this video showing several firearms in that crowded room, including one with the type of high-capacity magazine that's banned in Canada. And watch as this man records himself with his phone in one hand and 2 guns in the other. What followed late Monday night was a wild downtown shootout with nearly 100 rounds fired and 23 suspects arrested.
In my time as a police officer, this type of event we really haven't seen in the city of Toronto. It is something that we see in TV and movies.
Heavily armed officers swarmed this area lined with homes and businesses. No one was seriously hurt, though the shootout left bullet holes all over, including in the windshield of this unmarked police car.
It was a lot. It was crazy.
It's too close to home now with this.
Police say they seized 16 firearms in total, including 2 assault-style rifles. They say some guns were dumped in nearby garbage cans. What's more, police say some handguns were modified to fire up to 1,200 rounds a minute. You mentioned these guns came from the U.S., but how are they obtained?
They can be somebody who's bought them legally in the States and then has trafficked them in some fashion, or it could be somebody who has had their guns stolen.
Investigators are looking into whether this online video caught the attention of a rival gang and led to that shootout. We've blurred faces because among 8 suspects charged, one is a 16-year-old who can't be identified.
The risk is just so much higher when you have guns involved, particularly that number of guns.
It's a worrying episode in a city with a growing gun problem. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, a train derailment in Longueuil has led to a lockdown order for nearby residents. So after the crash, a cloud of white smoke drifted towards homes and schools. People in the area were then told to close their windows and stay inside. Investigators have since confirmed a chemical spill did take place, but the extent of it is still unclear. No injuries have been reported, and the containment zone has now been drastically reduced. Well, CBC News is in Latvia tonight, where Canada is now leading a new multinational brigade. It's part of NATO training on the Latvia-Russia border. Briar Stewart got a first-hand look and shows us why Canada may be in it for the long haul.
In the forest near Riga, Latvia, military training in a country that shares a nearly 300-kilometer-long border with Russia.
I'm in a Lab 6, a Canadian light armored vehicle, and the military is taking us out to take part in one of their exercises. They're basically simulating what it would be like to try to recapture territory from an enemy.
This large NATO exercise started at the beginning of November. It involves 3,500 troops from 13 different countries, more than half Canadian.
So this is all part of the command post?
This is all part of the command post.
Like many troops, Captain Harrison Burrows is here as part of a 6-month rotation. This is the first exercise to take place since the military forces here were scaled up to a brigade.
I would say 50%, or if not more, of things that you see here today weren't actually here earlier this summer.
A major goal of the training is getting different units from different countries working together. Canada has committed to lead the NATO forces here until 2026. The country's chief of defense staff believes the deployment will last beyond that.
I think considering the actions of Russia and what's going on in terms of threat, we can expect Canada to be here for a long time.
These exercises come at a potentially perilous time for the alliance. Donald Trump will soon take over the Oval Office again. He's repeatedly warned that if NATO countries don't pay their fair share, they would be left to their own defenses.
No doubt he will push us again to do more, to take a bigger share of the burden, which is only fair.
NATO defense spending has surged since the start of Russia's war in Ukraine. But Canada isn't expected to meet the 2% of GDP target for another 8 years. And NATO officials say the minimum is going to have to be set much higher if troops are going to be able to respond to all the threats beyond the borders. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near Riga, Latvia.
A new report reveals an alarming number of people are now living with diabetes.
They only started giving me insulin after the amputation.
Why millions are going without much needed treatment. Conspiracy website InfoWars may soon look very different.
The total attack on free speech, the deep state is completely out of control.
A surprising bid that could push out Alex Jones. And another iconic singer performs in Winnipeg for the first time to the delight of a superfan.
I've been waiting 46 years for last night to happen.
We're back in 2. Well, new research tonight shows diabetes rates around the world have doubled over the last 30 years. Jennifer Yoon shows us what a groundbreaking study is revealing, what countries are most affected and why.
Protests in South Africa as people with diabetes demand easier, cheaper access to insulin, and the need is growing exponentially. A new report in the Lancet Medical Journal says more than 800 million adults globally are living with diabetes. The rate has doubled over the last 3 decades. The largest increase is in low and middle income countries like Pakistan, Malaysia, and Jamaica.
The magnitude of the increase in numbers of people with diabetes is shocking.
The vast majority of cases, type 2 diabetes, caused primarily by obesity and preventable. Also concerning researchers, 59% of people with diabetes are not receiving treatment.
And these treatments are necessary in order to prevent complications from occurring, such as heart attack, stroke, amputation, kidney failure, blindness.
Here in Canada, the diabetes rate has held steady since 1990, well below the global average. But a third of Canadians with the disease still aren't receiving treatment.
They only started giving me insulin after the amputation.
Christian Swan spent years without treatment. Despite deadly family history, he says he was afraid to get help.
Being afraid to go see the doctor because of the historical traumas caused from residential schools.
Type 2 diabetics.
This doctor says focusing on groups most vulnerable to obesity is key.
The obesity rates is greater in the indigenous populations and in certain ethnicities, recent migrants, lower educated populations. So those are the ones that you could try to target.
Dr. Jha says another way to make sure Canadians are being diagnosed and treated for diabetes, improving access to primary care through family doctors or nurse practitioners. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
A satirical website is buying the infamous InfoWars with the help of those who sued Alex Jones and won.
The fact that The Onion got it is a really big win for us, and I couldn't be happier.
But will it stop the disinformation peddled by Jones? And Rosie's here with that issue. Hey, Rosie.
Hey, Adrienne. Tonight, we're going to talk about Doug Ford's calls to leave Mexico out of free trade negotiations.
You look at Mexico, they're importing cheap products, undercutting our hardworking men and women, not only here, but in the U.S.,
And Canada is under more pressure to tighten the border. Chantal, Andrew, and Aaron Wary join me to talk about that and a lot more.
American conspiracy theorist Alex Jones is challenging the sale of his website. He had to auction off InfoWars as part of a defamation settlement. Now, the winning bid is from the satirical news outlet The Onion. As Julie Wong shows us to Jones, apparently it's all part of the conspiracy.
We've been anticipating this.
Alex Jones, peddler of conspiracy theories, has launched a last-ditch effort to hold on to his biggest platform.
This is a total attack on free speech. The deep state is completely out of control.
This after the satirical media organization The Onion won a bid to buy Jones's website InfoWars. It wants to relaunch the site as a parody.
The Onion, which is known for making fun of everybody in the world, has purchased InfoWars from him at a Storage Wars style auction. And boy, does that feel good.
I didn't kill their kids. I'm not Adam Lanza.
Jones was forced to auction off the site after he was found guilty of defaming families of the Sandy Hook victims, baselessly claiming the 2012 elementary school shooting that killed 20 children and 6 adults was a hoax. Several court rulings left Jones owing families more than $1 billion. Some of them backed The Onion's bid.
He made people hate me. And so that is what I've had to endure and what my family has had to endure for 12 years now. So the fact that we've been able to separate Jones from the platforms in which he was using to do that is, again, a huge win.
Fighting disinformation with mockery is getting rave reviews from The Onion's Canadian counterpart.
Nothing defeats
a kind of like guy on a pedestal who's ranting and raving better than someone immediately like pulling his feet out from under him with, some kind of gag.
The acquisition gave The Onion control over the InfoWars website, inventory, and production equipment. But Jones has cultivated a cult following that could follow him elsewhere.
As long as people are hungry for the content that Alex Jones creates, he will have a base to keep selling to and profiting from.
Jones is challenging the sale in court. A hearing will be held next week into how The Onion won the bid. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Now, Rosie's here to break down the week in politics.
At issue tonight, Ontario's premier is suggesting Canada cut Mexico out of the North American Free Trade Agreement negotiations.
What I'm proposing to the federal government, we do a bilateral trade deal with the U.S., and if Mexico wants a bilateral trade deal with Canada, God bless them.
Ford accused Mexico of being a backdoor for cheap Chinese imports. The finance minister says she has heard similar concerns from American officials.
Mexico is not acting the way that Canada and the U.S. are when it comes to its economic relationship with China.
So is abandoning Mexico actually on the table here? How much will that issue, that China factor into these discussions? I'm Rosemary Barton here to break it all down tonight. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Aaron Wary is in for Althea Raj this week. Nice to see you all. I'll start with you, Chantal. What do you make of Ford's comments? There is some truth to what they're saying that Minister Freeland acknowledged, that Chinese parts are making their way to Mexico, and that probably doesn't quite follow the rules of the free trade agreement. What do you make of what he said?
And that is kind of an advance warning on two scores. The first to Mexico, obviously, because this renegotiation or revision is set for 2026. It will happen. But also a warning, I guess, to the federal government that it's going to be harder to lead a response going forward because others who have elections coming are not relying on a government that's got maybe 6 to 9 months to an election. That being said, I am uneasy strategically with the notion that Mexico, Canada, Ontario would start sending signals of what they would cave on at a negotiating table before they even get to it.
Yeah. A little curious, too, that the federal government would say that, I think, it's not that they're saying it's on the table, but acknowledging it, because the federal government has put in place tariffs against China, and that was something Donald Trump was quite pleased to hear. So I'm not sure, to Chantal's point, Andrew, what the strategy was there either.
I think Mr. Ford is either panicking and or seeking opportunity in here of the worst and most short-sighted kind. Leave aside the issue of the tariffs. Ordinarily, I would have no problem with Mexico letting stuff in tariff-free, but there is a legitimate security issue when it comes to China. Sure. But to solve, quote-unquote, that problem by bilateralizing a trilateral trade deal is the exact worst response to dealing with the Trump challenge or threat. What we need to be doing is working together, Canada and Mexico, and not just that, but Canada and its allies generally. But let's stick with the trade deal. The worst thing you could do would be to have two bilateral trade deals, Canada-U.S. and U.S.-Mexico, because then United States becomes the hub and we become the spokes. Mm-hmm. You can locate a plant in the United States and serve all three markets simultaneously. We don't want that. We want a trilateral trade deal that's in our strategic advantage as a country. So for Mr. Ford to be going off half-cocked like this, I think is really unfortunate and not helpful at this particular moment. I agree with Chantal that part of the problem is we've got basically a lame duck government and a lame duck prime minister in Ottawa. And I think advances the argument for saying maybe we need to have an election sooner rather than later. Because if this is replicated by other provinces, this is hurting our national interests and it's dividing the country. If Mr. Ford had his way, and we bilateralists for the sake of the Ontario auto industry, there's other parts of the country that are going to pay the price for that who are not going to be terribly happy. So I would hope that the federal government will ignore this particular suggestion.
Aaron?
Well, I don't know that they've ignored it, right? You heard Chrystia Freeland come out a day later and put it pretty delicately, though, to say, yeah, we have heard these concerns about Mexico and, we share them. Or I think she said at one point, we have sympathy for those concerns. I think, I think Chantal kind of hinted at it. It's hard to ignore the fact that Doug Ford may have an election coming up even sooner than the next federal election. Yeah. And it's tempting to read it in that context. I think from the federal government perspective, I think if you go back to the last negotiation, they did have in Jerry Dias and other people these voices sort of outside the tent that would periodically sound more bellicose, would rattle some sabers. Maybe there's something of that going on. I think, though, as Andrew says, there's a thin line between some saber rattling and maybe some sort of reckless getting ahead of things. But I also think that this just, again, goes back to Donald Trump. When there's a disruption, a threat like that, you sometimes get people, trying to kind of save themselves or put themselves in a better position at the expense of other people.
Yeah, Chantal?
Okay, but in the end, and I want to pick up on the notion of an election, the first problem is you do not have someone that has a strong mandate to negotiate for Canada. Whether you like it or not, there will be an election in this country. People read polls, and it's kind of a free-for-all, and that does argue for an election sooner rather than later, so that Canadians can decide, and they can decide that Justin Trudeau is fine to be dealing with Donald Trump. He did okay in the previous round, but he cannot continue to pretend that he is that same person with that same level of moral authority anymore.
No, but we're not. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but when Chrystia Freeland says that, she may have a point, but it also comes across as she's trying not to antagonize the Ontario Premier because there's a federal election coming.
Yeah, except, I mean, they're not dealing with this issue until January, and the issue of
that's tomorrow.
Yeah, and the issue of CUSMA is 2026. So do they not have the right to make positions and take positions until then?
Well, but the thing is that's not the issue. Right. The thing is, if Mexico and Canada are going to start shooting at each other, it only helps one person at the negotiating table, neither of whom is the Mexican or the Canadian representative.
It's the guy who likes negotiating, Andrew.
Mr. Ford can take whatever position he likes behind closed doors, but to be making public statements like this in a way that is divisive and counterproductive in terms of a coherent negotiating strategy with the Americans, which I will stress means a united Canadian position. It means a united Canadian-Mexico position, and it needs, in a broader ambit beyond trade, it requires a unity amongst the democracies. Mr. Trump has been very clear in saying that he regards America's enemies as its allies and its allies as its enemies now. So he'll be cozying up to Russia, but he'll be doing everything he possibly can to antagonize America's erstwhile allies, and that would include Canada. He is essentially a nihilist, and he will be looking for ways, for example, to divide us amongst ourselves. So I think we need to have a conversation amongst all of Canada's leaders, amongst the different political parties, between the provinces and the feds, on working out some kind of, it doesn't mean everybody has to march in lockstep to whatever the Prime Minister says, but it does mean we've got to figure out some way to approach this in a relatively unified fashion, because otherwise the Americans will pick us apart.
Aaron.
Yeah, look, I think one complication with having an election is that the Liberals are probably banking on the fact, or the idea, that they can spend a few months at least dealing with Donald Trump and sort of proving their mettle again to Canadians and then carry that into the next election. But to Andrew's point, I do think the Doug Ford comments raise the issue that there is not going to be, or it seems unlikely to be, a united front this time around in Canada. Last time around, the Liberals were able to put former Conservative cabinet ministers that were in Stephen Harper's government on their advisory panel. They had Brian Mulroney on their side. I can't imagine the Liberals and Conservatives, or I have a hard time imagining the Liberals and Conservatives working together this time. You had Pierre Poilievre already, tweeting that he was, kind of mocking the Team Canada approach. So I do think, as much as the Liberals might want to, show themselves, prove themselves again in their ability to deal with Donald Trump, the domestic debate is going to be much tougher than it was last time.
Yeah, Chantal, last word.
Not only, but they're not going to get to prove themselves, because as you heard this week, and it makes total strategic sense, the Trump team will wait out the Trudeau team. until there is an election. Now, how about the notion that Justin Trudeau has been looking for a reason to explain why he should lead the country for another 4 years? And how about the fact that his main success has been handling Trump in the previous episode? So if he's looking for a narrative, he needs a mandate. No one is going to take him seriously in Washington unless he gets a new mandate or is gone.
And it's a legitimate debate. It's if we want an overarching issue to frame an election around, which party is best prepared and which leader is best prepared to deal with Donald Trump is a legitimate issue to have an election over.
Okay, we got to leave it there. When we come back, we're going to talk more because this is just how this is going to be now. Donald Trump's new border czar and his comments about Canada.
It's not going to be like the Biden administration. We're going to process you and release you, never to show up in court. You're not walking away. We're going to lock you up.
What should we make of this focus on the Canada-U.S. border? More at issue right after this short break. At issue, Donald Trump's border czar. The U.S. president-elect is putting Tom Homan in charge of all U.S. border issues. Homan wasted no time raising security concerns about the Canadian border.
If you're going across the northern St. Lawrence River or come across the lake or on foot, they need to know right from the start, you can come, but you're going to be arrested, you're not going to be released, and we're going to remove you.
So what's to be made of this focus on the Canada-U.S. border? What could it mean for our relations with the United States? Chantal, Andrew, and Aaron all back to discuss this. There are two issues here, but the one we'll talk about tonight is how the Trump people are concerned about people coming through Canada into the United States. Obviously, we are also concerned about what Trump might do, which would force people to try and come to this country. But we'll deal with these comments, Aaron. What do you make of that, and what should that signal to the Canadian government?
I mean, I think it, underlines that Canada needs to take seriously the idea that people are moving from Canada into the United States. It's not, granted, it's not necessarily a new concern. Going back to the sort of post 9/11 era, there was this great concern that Canada had a porous border into the United States. I'm hard pressed, though, to see it as sort of the biggest issue either for us or for them. The biggest issue for them remains the southern border, and the biggest issue for us remains our southern border, because we may have to concern ourselves with people trying to flee the United States again and come here. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason for amending the Safe Third Country Agreement under the Biden administration was to deal with that northern border, their northern border concerns, the U.S. northern border concerns. But I would wonder whether that agreement is still going to hold up through, 4 years of Trump.
Yeah, Andrew?
Yeah, because it was always a question whether the United States was genuinely a safe third country. It is clearly and manifestly not a safe third country. So we are going to be faced with, I don't know how many people coming north. Remember, the plan of the Trump government is to round up and put into detention camps 15 million people. And the task of that is so enormous, it's ridiculous. It's likely to lead to massive resistance in the United States. But one form of that resistance may well be thousands, tens of thousands, I don't know how many people coming north to try to escape their fate of being stuck in camps for however many years. We can't possibly admit that many, but we can't possibly prevent them all either. We have a 9,000-kilometer border with the United States. If they're really determined to come, we've got a real problem on our hands. And one of the problems administratively is are we going to have any kind of safe third country type of arrangement we can possibly, in good conscience, maintain? So this alone, leave aside trade issues or defense issues or anything else, this alone is a 5-alarm fire of an issue.
Though I will say, and I readily admit it's different, but when Trump was president the first time around, he attempted to enact a ban on certain Muslim countries. And at the same time, there were plenty of people in Canada who thought the Safe Third Country Agreement should be suspended. It was not. And Canada did welcome some of those people, or at least the Prime Minister opened his arms to that. I'm not sure that would happen again, Andrew.
This is orders of magnitude worse.
Okay, Chantal.
I don't think it's terribly useful to go back to the first Trump administration for what the future bodes, to tell you the truth. Sure. I've seen nothing in that campaign or in the appointments that were made over the past 2 weeks that goes in that direction. So maybe it's best to leave it alone. But second, we did have a border issue. It's not what they think about our border for people going south. How many people do you think are going to wake up in the morning looking at what the equivalent of concentration camps in the US and say, I'm going to go south? The problem is on our side and how we are going to handle this. And I don't know if we are going to stop looking at the US as a safe third country. But for sure, things are about to happen there that have nothing to do with what you saw in that first term.
I take your point, and I think it's right. But my point was there were already questions at that time about that ban and what they would do with the Safe Third Country Agreement. And it did lead to court challenges in this country, but it didn't lead to the end of the agreement. I'm not saying it couldn't happen here, but
what's the worth of the agreement when you've got thousands of people overrunning your border that you can't possibly man for its entirety? I mean, what are you going to do? The Roxham Road was one place,
yes,
and it became a major issue in this country. You're thinking the entire Canadian-U.S. border with thousands coming across. That's a completely different proposition logistically.
And for this government anyway, and I don't know where Pierre Poilievre stands, but for a government that is moving towards reducing immigration targets, I'm not sure how they would then manage. Of course, if someone's seeking asylum, it's different. But obviously there would be constraints around that too, Andrew.
Well, our whole immigration policy over the years has been predicated on the idea that we have oceans on three sides of us, and we have a manageable border on the south. And a lot of times we pat ourselves in the back for what are either well-regulated or liberal-minded immigration policy we have because of those assumptions. Well, one of the oceans are still there, although they're less and less of a barrier with modern transportation. But that fourth wall is now about to crumble. And it's going to test, I think, a lot of our assumptions about ourselves. It's going to test our liberal-mindedness, and it's going to test our peace, order, and good government theory of ourselves. This is a serious challenge.
About 30 seconds, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that might deter people from coming to Canada is the idea that, authorities here are going to stop people and then transfer them back to American authorities. Yeah. And I suppose the question then becomes, will American authorities still accept them? So first of all, will the Trump administration keep the Safe Third Country Agreement in place? And then the flip side of that is, domestically, does the Safe Third Country Agreement still hold up to legal challenges? Yeah. Yes, I think Chantal's right. The first Trump presidency is of limited precedent at this point. But I think it is worth noting that compared to the Trudeau government's tone last time around, that tweet after the de facto Muslim ban, now you're hearing Mark Miller say things like, not everyone is welcome here. I think the tone is an implicit acknowledgement that the practical situation and the political situation has changed a lot.
Okay, I got to leave it there. Thank you all for that good conversation. Aaron, thanks for stepping in. Now it's back to Adrienne in Toronto.
Thanks, Rosie. Well, next, it may feel like all the attention is on Taylor Swift, but one fan waited nearly half a century for this. The boss makes it to Winnipeg in our moment. So not everyone is lining up for Taylor Swift. Stu Reed, right there, waited nearly 50 years to see Bruce Springsteen in his hometown, Winnipeg, and that wait ended last night. So it was Springsteen's first stop ever in Manitoba. Stu was there, of course, and tonight, Stu's hometown dream makes our moment.
Bruce Springsteen played Winnipeg last night for the very first time. I've been waiting 46 years for last night to happen. I'm up front at the stage and I'm punching the air with my fist in all the right moments and singing along and playing air guitar and screaming Bruce at the top of my lungs. I didn't know if I was going to be able to physically make it through the entire concert up front. I thought I might have to, bow out halfway through and go stand at the back. But I could have kept going for another hour or two. It was great. Of the 45 shows I've been to, I've never been that close before. Bruce, his entire career gives it 110% every night, and last night was definitely no different.
So Stu said he met his wife thanks to Bruce. In the 80s, he put out a fanzine dedicated to Springsteen. A woman ordered a magazine. One thing led to another. Now they're married. From all of us at The National, thanks for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.